Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. My name is Matt Morris. We are live right now on Rumble as well as on YouTube at Matt Morris TV. Folks, we really have one hell of a show today. You see, earlier today, a couple hours ago, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and Secretary of State Marco Rubio held a massive congressional briefing during which they spoke to various members of the House and of the Senate about the ongoing strikes against the Venezuelan narco boats off the coast of Venezuela, during which they pretty much just obliterated and destroyed not only the narco boats, but also the entire left-wing narrative as it pertains to these strikes. So we're going to break down everything that happened today as it pertains to that. Also, we have another story that we're going to be covering today. The Trump administration has just cracked down on Minnesota State Governor Tim Walz. In fact, earlier today, they officially called for Tim Walz to step down, to resign immediately in disgrace and shame because some new information, if you can even believe it, some new information has come to light pertaining to all of the fraud and abuse that has been going on in Minnesota, as it would turn out. It's not just the fraud and the abuse, but it's the fact that Tim Walz knew about it, and he's been deliberately turning a blind eye to not much of it, but to all of it. Then we also have another story that we're going to be talking about. This is really, I suppose, the biggest story of the day that everyone is talking about right now. This story is going viral right as I speak. We got some massive news pertaining to the 2022 Mar-a-Lago raid, during which the FBI, under Joe Biden's directive, under Joe Biden's auto pen's directive, raided President Trump's home at Mar-a-Lago in August of 2022. And today, we actually got some pretty damning proof confirming that that raid was illegal, that raid actually took place without any just cause. And so now we have the absolute proof that this entire thing was carried out unlawfully, which means the title of today's broadcast is Arrests Inbound. Everybody that signed off on this, we have the paper trail. We have emails confirming they knew what they were doing. We know that they did not have proof or evidence, and we have a bunch of people signing off on this anyway. Arrests are inbound. That is what everybody's talking about right now. So, folks, I want to say first off, thank you very much for tuning in today. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. It means a lot and it helps a ton, especially on YouTube. With the way the algorithm works, the more likes, the more comments, the more subscribers, the further YouTube will broadcast this show to the masses. So everybody, especially on YouTube, on Rumble as well, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to do it now. Let's get into today's news. Now, ladies and gentlemen, like I said earlier today, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and Secretary of State Marco Rubio held a massive briefing for select members of Congress, both in the House and the Senate alike, during which they spoke about these strikes against the Venezuelan narco boats. And by the way, both Democrats and Republicans alike were invited to this congressional briefing. Well, Chuck Schumer was invited. And he is not happy. He is having what can only be described as a complete and total meltdown. And so really, to kick off today's show, we're going to do something crazy. We are going to listen to Chuck Schumer's meltdown. This is his response to this briefing from Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio. We're going to hear what he has to say. And then, ladies and gentlemen, if you bear with me, we are going to completely debunk and destroy everything he had to say. All right, so let it play.
Joining me today, and we had a deeply unsatisfying briefing this morning with Secretaries Rubio and Hegseth. It asked more questions than it answered, and it was just, look, there is almost no transparency in this administration, and that reveals itself more than anything on revealing what happened on September 2nd. This morning I demanded in front of every senator, to Hegseth's face, that he let every senator see the unedited video of what happened on September 2nd. I've seen it. It turns your stomach.
It turns your stomach. Good Lord. Now, this video is talking about is the infamous, everybody's talking about the double tap video, in which they had identified a narco trafficking boat. They dropped one bomb or one drone strike. There were people, the boat wasn't entirely destroyed. There were narco trafficking terrorist survivors, and they did a little double tap to make sure the boat and the terrorists themselves were taken out. And so Chuck Schumer is saying it's gut-wrenching. The fact that the Trump administration is blowing up terrorists and narco-terrorists trying to smuggle narcotics into the country, it's absolutely gut-wrenching. Okay, Mr. Schumer.
It is awful, and people should see it. What the hell is Hegseth hiding? His excuse about classification? It's false, because any senator would see it in the skiff. Now, I believe with the proper safeguards, all the American people should see it. And why is this so important? It's important in itself to see if we were obeying the law. We're a law-abiding country. But it's also important because what's going on in the Caribbean is unprecedented. We've never seen anything like it before, and it could lead to another endless war. Disclosure, hearings, which our Republican Senate friends have refused to call, serve a purpose. They force the administration in public to answer very serious questions about where they're going.
By the way, real quick, Chuck Schumer has been in Congress since, I want to say off the top of my head, 1984. I believe he's been in Congress since 1984. He's worried that this could end up causing yet another endless war. Yeah, really? Listen, hey, Chuck Schumer, in your almost 50 years in Congress, 40-something years in Congress, how many of these unending, never-ending wars have you either directly voted for, in favor of, or voted in favor of funding and paying for at the expense of the U.S. taxpayer? The answer, by the way, is all of them. The answer is literally every single all of them to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars. Pardon me, but I don't really think that Chuck Schumer cares about never-ending wars.
And so far, we've had no transparency. September 2nd is the first step, but we need a lot of transparency. So when the truth is on your side, you don't hide the evidence.
So this is the problem for Chuck Schumer. This is where we're going to debunk and break all of this down, because Chuck Schumer, like I said, he was not the only member of Congress that was invited today to this congressional briefing put on by Hegseth and Rubio. By the way, he says there's no transparency. Dude, that's what this was. There have been over a dozen congressional briefings, all of which you have been invited to, Mr. Schumer, where Rubio and Hegseth give information as to what's going on. What do you mean there's no transparency? What happened today, the briefing you were invited to, was literally transparency. Now, unfortunately for Schumer, he's trying to push his anti-Trump, anti-America first agenda. Bull crap. He was not the only one that was invited. We have other fine members of Congress. For example, Republican representative in the House, Tim Burchett, who everybody loves. He was invited as well. And his narrative, his story about what was discussed today at this congressional briefing is, you might notice, just a little bit different than what Chuck Schumer had to say. In fact, pay attention closely to what Burchett is about to say, because he sheds a light on some brand new information. We haven't heard any of this before, and it actually changes the entire narrative pertaining to these narco strikes. Listen closely, and then we're going to break it down.
Hey, everybody. Tim Burchett, just leaving the briefing with Secretary Hegseth and Secretary Rubio and military leaders about the legality of these strikes on these drug dealers that are pumping poison into our streets.
Yep.
I was glad to hear it. It's actually a three-tier system. Can't go into all the details, but every step of the way there's lawyers making sure that what they're doing is legal. What the press isn't reporting is that there's several of these have just been introductions where they just seized the boats and the drugs and nobody got killed because one of those three areas was not did not fulfill that, so they just had to stop them. And guess what? Every one of them, they were carrying drugs, but they couldn't prove that they were part of a terrorist organization or otherwise. So I'm very well very pleased. Oddly enough, I think they've killed it's less than 100 drug dealers or pushers or whatever you want to call them. In that, it's about averages. It seems like about a little over 3 people per strike, and in that time, you just can't imagine the thousands of people that have lost their lives or had to get Narcan and go back. But anyway, thank y'all for seeing.
So, ladies and gentlemen, let's really start picking this apart and breaking this down, because we just got today from Burchett, as a result of this briefing, this congressional briefing put on by Hegseth and Rubio, we just got some like bombshell information. If I might say bombshell, we got some crazy information here. We just heard that Hegseth and Rubio, they actually have a what are we calling it? A 3-tiered system. Really, it's sort of like 3 check marks. Every single check mark, all 3 points of criteria must be met. Criteria 1, criteria 2, criteria 3. You must meet all 3, check all 3 boxes. And then if they can check all 3 boxes as it relates to this narco trafficking boat that they're watching from a satellite or a drone, then if they check all 3 boxes, we know who's on it, we know what's on it, we know it's coming from, we know these guys are in fact terrorists, then we're going to go ahead and blow it up. But if not all 3 boxes are checked, then they don't blow it up, they don't kill anybody. They send the Coast Guard out, they interdict it, and then they seize the boat. They maybe detain the people, they send them back, and they see what's on the boat. He said every single time, by the way, that they've done this, there are in fact drugs on the boat. So there are situations where they know what's on the boat, it's drugs, but they can't verifiably prove the individuals smuggling the drugs are technically narco-terrorists. If they can't prove those guys are narco-terrorists, then they just go out and interdict the boat, seize the drugs, and maybe send the guys back home, or check the guys, who are you, who aren't you? Okay, you're not a terrorist, okay, go back home. You're just a run-of-the-mill drug smuggler, where maybe we're going to arrest you, but we're not going to blow you up. So they are actually methodical. They have all the information here, and they don't go dropping bombs unless they know for a fact who, what, where, when, why, how. Okay? And then beyond that, what else did Burchett just say? He also said that they have a federal legal team in the room as these strikes are being planned out. Are we going to do it? Are we not going to do it? Do we check the boxes? Yes or no? Who's on the boat? Where? They have a federal legal team in the room helping out. Is this legal? Is it not legal? The legal team is there making sure, is this constitutional? Can we do this given the circumstances? Yes or no? If yes, okay, bombs away, or we are interdicting. If no, we don't have enough information, then we're not going to do it. Okay, we're going to do something else. So this is what Burchett said. Now, did Chuck Schumer say any of that? Did Chuck Schumer mention any of that? By the way, that's new information. That's new bombshell information. We haven't heard any of that. We've been kind of speculating. In fact, I've said as much. This makes sense. Of course, this is what they're doing. But now we actually have the concrete confirmation coming out today that they're not just willy-nilly blowing up boats for no reason. These are not humble fishing boats. Like, they know. As a reminder, I've said this a million times, but I'm going to say it again. This is the Department of War, ladies and gentlemen. This is the U.S. military. This is the United States intelligence apparatus. We have the most advanced, comprehensive information in the world. We've got state-of-the-art satellites. We've got drones flying overhead. We've got stealth drones. They can't even see them up there. We know the entire order of operations. Where do the drugs come from? Where are they manufactured? Who is manufacturing them? What's the supply route? What roads are they taking to transport from the drug warehouse up to the dockyard where they put the drugs on the boat? Who's piloting the boat? Who's the captain of the boat? And then they sail out into the sea. Where are they going? What's the trajectory? How fast are they going? What's the background of the people involved? They know all of this. And so now we have a confirmation coming out right now. Okay, yeah, this is like what's been going on. Now, we also hear from Senator John Kennedy, who after today's congressional briefing, he went to Fox News. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Dictatorships, they're criminal enterprises. I agree with him. I think the White House does have a plan here. I don't think they're ready to share it yet with Congress. I think some of the people who are criticizing the president are in good faith, but a lot of them are just, I don't know, they're just masterclass dumb. I mean, what the president is doing is perfectly legal, whether you agree with it or not. Another thing, but it's perfectly illegal under the Constitution, and a lot of the people criticizing him. Well, if you wanted to hide something from him, you just put it in a law book.
Yeah.
Especially the chapter on the Constitution.
Yeah. I mean, we all have seen
dictatorships. They're criminal.
And so, you know, you can't help but notice a certain level of hypocrisy coming from those on the left. Sometimes we call them, dare I say, Democrats. They all turned a blind, in fact, people like Chuck Schumer turned a blind eye. There was a president we had a couple years ago. I hate to say his name. His name was Barack Hussein Obama. This guy was dropping bombs left and right. He was blowing up people's weddings. He was dropping bombs on children. He was doing the worst stuff imaginable. Hundreds, thousands. He was infamous. He was the drone striker, the predator drone striker in chief is what they called him, the drone bomber in chief. And the Democrats, they all turned a blind eye. They didn't care. They didn't give one crap about that. And so we actually had a senator here, Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, who reminded us of this hypocrisy.
Let's talk about the whole picture here as a whole. Guys, I'm losing patience on the whole thing because I think it's ridiculous that we're having this conversation, because underneath Obama, he had 500 strikes, 3,700 different individuals were killed. There wasn't a big show about this. What you guys are all upset about is the hemisphere that it's working in. The hemisphere is these are drug terrorist organizations. The same people that Obama went after, some people we've been over for the last 24 years, were terrorist organizations that were wanting to kill Americans. There has been more Americans killed because of these terrorist cartels drugging our streets, drugging every one of your all streets, every one of your all's towns, every one of the audience's towns. They killed more people in 2024 on our streets than we lost in the entire Vietnam War for U.S. personnel.
Wow, wait a minute. What? In 2024, in this country, we lost more people to fentanyl coming in from Latin America, from places like Mexico and Venezuela included, from Maduro's narco-terror regime. More people in 2024 than we did in the entirety of the Vietnam War. Wow.
These are terrorist organizations that are poisoning our streets. The president has the authority to do so. The argument is it's too close to our shores. Does anybody doubt that these are terrorist organizations? Does anybody have a question about these being terrorist organizations? So what's the difference between Obama attacking these individuals when they were deemed terrorist organizations in the Middle East versus the ones that are here right now poisoning our streets?
You do see this just like absolute insane level of, let's call it mental gymnastics, people twisting their brain inside out, trying to justify, okay, listen, if we use the U.S. military to police and protect and secure the rest of the world, it's all good, it's okay. That's what we should do as proud, patriotic Americans. It's our job to have a carrier battle group floating off the coast of Israel protecting Israel, or a carrier group floating off the coast of Taiwan protecting Taiwan from China, or off the coast of Korea or Japan, or funding to the tune of like $500 billion the Ukrainian war effort, or subsidizing the entire continental defense of Europe through NATO. Like, that's all good. Okay, we love that. As patriotic Americans, that's our obligation. And by the way, we've been doing that for a very long time. All of these things, we've been doing this for a very long time. However, the second we actually look back to our own hemisphere, to our own backyard, the second we say, listen, it's time to use our military or even the National Guard inside the country to help protect the country from far left terrorists or terror regimes in Latin America or cartels or whatever, then suddenly it's not okay. Then we're not allowed to do that. So we are allowed, let me make sense of this. We can use our military and our taxpayer dollars to protect everybody else except for ourselves. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just not really buying it. Now is the time for America first, which means actually, what does that mean? Putting America first and also putting the Americans therein first as well. That's all of us. And thank God we're finally doing that. Now, following today's press conference, or congressional briefing, Marco Rubio came out. He made a big announcement. The greatest Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, has just unleashed a massive FAFO, F around find out, on a dangerous narco-terrorist Colombian group. They're called the Clan del Golfo, officially designating them as a foreign terrorist organization. Marco Rubio. Okay, but where are they located? In Colombia. Colombia! This means the full force of the U.S. government can choke their funding and their resources. Quote, the United States will use all available tools to protect our national security interests and deny funding and resources to narco-terrorists. So now, ladies and gentlemen, now we're not just talking about what's going on in Venezuela. We're blowing up narco-trafficking boats off the coast of Venezuela, or interdicting them at a minimum. President Trump 3 days ago, was talking about imminent land strikes on the mainland of Venezuela, taking out narcotic compounds, drug manufacturing facilities, transit ports where the boats are coming in and out of, stuff like that. But also now we're talking about Colombia, who has a very hostile president. His name is Petro, he was responsible also equally for shipping out all of these narcotics, cocaine predominantly from Colombia, but also fentanyl as well. And so now we're doing a total Latin American crackdown. So it seems as if it is just full steam ahead. Pete Hegseth does not give one hoot. Rubio does not give one hoot. It is America first. We're shutting down the influx, the never-ending inflow of narcotics coming in the country at all costs. And also, while we're doing it today, we have seen the far-left Democrat narrative that they've been this narrative they've been trying to paint about how these strikes are unfolding, completely shutting it down and dismantling the far-left narrative. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we also have another totally unrelated story, I guess in a way kind of related. Today, we're also going to be talking about what is going on in Minnesota, namely relating to Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. You guys have all been witnessing the fraud and the abuse and the waste, and how Tim Walz has been playing coverage for it, turning a blind eye to it. Well, the story got even more interesting or insane today. I think you guys are going to like this news we have. Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins, we're not going to read all of this, but she sent about a page and a half memo, a letter, official government letter from D.C. She's the Secretary of Agriculture. She sent this to Governor Tim Walz. She says, Governor Tim Walz, there's nothing you can do now that changes the fact you stood idly by as criminals stole millions from the American taxpayer and hungry families. The attached letter federally requires you to verify SNAP participants in the next 30 days. Tick tock. The clock is ticking. Now, you all know that Tim Walz has refused to turn over Minnesota State SNAP enrollment logs to the federal government so the federal government can audit these logs. Why do you think he might be refusing? Well, it's because we all know he's got millions of illegal aliens, or hundreds of thousands at a minimum of illegal aliens, receiving these federal taxpayer-funded benefits. And so, I actually read all of this on my own. There are two big key points I've extracted here. One, Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins is now demanding that Tim Walz recertify every single SNAP recipient in the state of Minnesota. That's the first one. The second key takeaway is that she is demanding Tim Walz work with the federal government to ensure that illegal aliens are not collecting taxpayer-funded benefits in the state of Minnesota. So every single person receiving SNAP, you got to re-roll. We're doing a total refresh of the entire system. Then you need to work with you need to capitulate to the federal government to make sure going forward, no more illegal aliens receiving benefits. And he's got 30 days to do this. Otherwise, all the funding is getting pulled. That's the first piece of news as it relates to Tim Walz. Now, we have an even bigger piece of news. This is from Secretary of Education. The Trump administration today, this afternoon, pretty much went, dare I say, scorched earth against Minnesota and Tim Walz, really Tim Walz. We've got a lot of good people in Minnesota. No hate on the good Minnesotans. But Secretary of Education Linda McMahon earlier today explicitly called for Tim Walz, that is, to resign immediately, to step down immediately. Now, this letter we are going to read because I thought it was interesting. I want to share this with you guys. To the Honorable Tim Walz, Dear Governor Walz, the integrity of America's federalist system, where governance is a partnership between national and state authorities, only works if state leaders uphold justice and common sense. When states abuse their authority to oversee free and fair elections, enforce criminal law, or distribute entitlements and other public benefits, that system of states' rights and liberties, that relationship of trust, falls apart. And it has fallen apart. You have been Minnesota's governor since 2019. During that time, your careless lack of oversight and abuse of the welfare system has attracted fraudsters from around the world, especially from Somalia, she says, to establish a beachhead of criminality in our country. Is that true or false? That is true. As President Trump put it, you have turned Minnesota into a fraudulent hub of money laundering activity. Yeah, that's true. At the beginning of this year, the U.S. Department of Education became aware that fraudulent college applicants, especially concentrated in Minnesota. I'm sorry, I just can't. I'm reading through this, and there's so much fraud. It's education, it's COVID recovery money, it's food assistance, it's everything. It's like the entire. They say the fish rots from the head down. This entire fish is rotten. This entire fish is so rotten that at this point, a Swedish person is going to put it on a plate and eat it. Okay, let's keep on going. I'm sorry, that's a really bad joke. At the beginning of this year, the U.S. Department of Education became aware that fraudulent college applicants, especially concentrated in Minnesota, were gaming the federal post-secondary education system to collect money that was intended for young Americans to help them afford college, not a bunch of illegal immigrants. We call these fraudsters ghost students because they were not ID verified and often did not live in the United States, or they simply did not exist at all. In Minnesota, 1,834 ghost students were found to have received, oh my good Lord, $12.5 million in taxpayer-funded grants and loans. We are not a serious country. As long as this stuff is going on, this is just insane. They collected checks from the federal government, shared a small portion of the money with the college, and pocketed the rest without attending the colleges at all. They weren't even students. To stop ghost students, we at the Department of Education implemented enhanced fraud controls, such as mandatory identity verification. Good. We should identify students for certain first-time student applicants. Our new fraud prevention system has now blocked more than, get ready, our new fraud prevention system has now blocked more than $1 billion in attempted financial aid theft by fraudsters, including coordinated international fraud rings and artificial intelligence bots pretending to be students. You want to know how a lot of these other countries view the United States of America? They view our nation as a rotting carcass, and they're like a bunch of scavengers. What are those birds called? They're like vultures picking the flesh off of the carcass that is our country. They're like, it's like a band of hyenas and vultures are huddled up around the corpse of this country, the carcass, picking the meat off. At least that's how they view it. At least that's how they view it. Thank God, all of us, we are saying, no, we are not dead. Hey, we're actually alive. Hey, we're not a rotting, decomposing carcass for you to pick the flesh off of. We are a country. We're back. America first time. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. They have stopped. But by the way, put this into perspective. Our new fraud prevention system has now blocked more than $1 billion in attempted fraud and theft. That is just like astounding. What a volume of fraud. It goes on to say, another half a page here. Even one of your state's top elected officials, oh boy, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, has sought to take advantage of the federal taxpayer by advocating for broad student debt cancellation, which she has publicly acknowledged will benefit her directly. I was thinking about this whole student debt cancellation narrative coming from the left. I have to say this. So let me just understand this. Members of the far left, they expect me to believe that 5-year-olds are old enough to decide whether or not they want to become transgender, but 18, 19-year-old college students are not mentally equipped enough to decide whether or not to take out a loan at a university. 5-year-olds can decide whether or not they want to take hormone injection shots, but 18, 19-year-old students are not cognizant enough to determine whether or not they want a student loan. Really? This is the leftist logic that I'm seeing right now? Okay, make this make sense. Now, let's keep on going, but that's a different conversation. Let's keep on reading what we had to say here. Ilhan Omar has sought to take advantage of the federal taxpayer by advocating for broad student debt cancellation, which she has publicly acknowledged will benefit her directly. She borrowed tens of thousands of dollars to attend college as a politics major that she now does not think she should have to repay, despite her generous taxpayer-funded salary. By the way, real quick, do you guys know what Ilhan Omar's net worth is? She's been in Congress not very long, just like 4 or 5 years, maybe less. Ilhan Omar, her net worth, this is what I was reading the other day, is somewhere north of $30 million. Where did she get that money? She came into Congress with a net worth of like maybe $150,000 or $200,000. That was her net worth. What, 4 years later? $30 million. Where is that? Where is that money coming from? Do we have another Nancy Pelosi type of situation? Is this Nancy Pelosi version 2.0, but this time Somalian and frankly probably stupider? Not to give any credit to Nancy Pelosi, not that she's an Einstein here, but like, come on, this is just insane. My colleagues in other federal departments have uncovered the massive scandal of welfare fraud in Minnesota, where you have done absolutely nothing as Governor Tim Walz to stop this criminal behavior. Scammers have gotten rich off federal housing, education, food stamp, and small business programs, even defrauding assistance for elder care and autistic children. Talk about evil. Talk about evil. Talk about demonic behavior. Joining these criminals in their schemes have been Minnesota politicians who benefit both in votes and donations from the fraudsters' support. Ilhan Omar. Like the radical Islamic terror groups overseas who receive Minnesota money to kill American service members abroad, Minnesota's political elite has turned a blind eye and even helped facilitate the laundering of money that was meant to help America's least fortunate. Shame on you, Governor Walz, for allowing this to happen and for benefiting from it no less. This is where we get spicy here. Pay attention. Stop defrauding American taxpayers. No politician is above the law, and my department, alongside every other agency under the leadership of President Trump, will continue to ensure that you will not be able to dodge accountability for your actions. The letter concludes, given your dereliction of the office entrusted to you by Minnesotans, I implore you to resign and make way for more capable leadership. They are going to hold him accountable. He's done dodging accountability. Resign now. Get the hell out. Sincerely, Linda E. McMahon, U.S. Secretary of Education. So at this point, I think it's fair to say around the country, we have been talking about this Minnesota fraud situation, Tim Walz's involvement, Ilhan Omar's involvement. It's a whole scandal. At this point, I think it is fair to say that the walls, as they say, are closing in around Tim Walz. Every single day, things are looking worse for him. Now, House Majority Whip Tom Emmer, Republican congressman, he actually chimes in. He adds a little bit more to this dynamic today. Take a listen.
Which brings me to addressing the failure of my governor, Tim Walz. We anxiously await Tim Walz's response to House Oversight Committee Chairman Jamie Comer regarding what he knew about the $1 billion in fraud.
Yep.
Walz has had 7 years to address and stop the fraud. It wasn't until President Trump made this a national issue that Walz started to pretend that he cares about his constituents' tax dollars supporting a terrorist group in Somalia. Accountability is coming, Governor. Our dishonest, failed governor must and will answer for his complete incompetence.
There you have it. Take it or leave it. Believe this man or don't. Believe him or not. There you have it. We're hearing twice on the same day. Accountability is coming. Like I said, I think the walls are closing in. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as you might remember, the 2024 election, Tim Walz, I'm not going to say it was close because it was a dominant Donald Trump victory, but Tim Walz, there's another timeline out there where Tim Walz right now is our vice president. And then our president, of course, would be Kamala Harris. Can you imagine? Can you imagine how screwed? There's another word. Effed. Can you imagine how effed this country would be right this second? Imagine we were 11 months into the Kamala Harris, Tim Walz presidential administration. Can you imagine how effed we would be? A little reminder, it's becoming increasingly popular to critique Trump. Trump, you're not doing enough here. You got to do more here. Do more. You're failing on this front or this or that or this. Okay, everybody's doing that these days. Let us remind ourselves real quick of the alternative. And by the way, I'm not saying that we should never criticize Trump or the Trump administration. We can all improve the Trump administration. They do have places where they can improve. Little reminder here, just to put everything into perspective. There's another timeline where we have Kamala Harris and Tim Walz as our president and vice president right now. This country would be done. This country would be absolutely cooked. And by the way, on the campaign trail, the 2024 campaign trail, really, generally speaking, none of this Tim Walz fraud was being publicly talked about. I think some people knew, especially conservatives in Minnesota State. You Minnesotans, you guys knew about this, but it wasn't all this Minnesota Somali fraud. Tim Walz is a part of it, We all know the information at this point. This stuff wasn't really talked a whole lot about on the 2024 campaign trail. Now it is, man. It could be way worse. Thank God that is a bullet that we dodged. But ladies and gentlemen, at this point, I want to move on and talk about really the big national viral story of the day that everybody in the country is talking about right now. Like I said, this story is going viral right this very moment. Now, folks, a couple hours ago, just like 2 or 3 hours ago, in fact, the FBI and the DOJ have just released a joint memo confirming that the Biden administration did not have probable cause to raid President Trump's home at Mar-a-Lago on August 8th of 2022, during which they took back all of Trump's declassified documents. They said, hey, you're not allowed to take these documents. Well, actually, he was. Actually, he declassified them. There was no problem. In fact, now we know, like I said, joint memo, FBI, DOJ, they came out a couple hours ago and said, actually, we have a paper trail. We know for a fact the Biden administration, they had no probable cause to do this. They did it for no reason. Well, there is a reason we're going to talk about here in a minute, but they had no legal justification is really what I want to say. Breaking news. It's official. A bombshell memo was just dispatched to Congress. It was delivered to Congress. We have access to it now. It was put together by the FBI and the DOJ, dispatched to Congress. The findings in which Biden FBI did not have probable cause to raid Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago, but the prosecutors did it anyway. In the absence of probable cause, no proof or evidence. Unprecedented miscarriage of justice. Now, we have a clip here. I want to take a listen to this. We're going to keep on breaking all of this down.
The Justice Department and FBI are about to turn over a tranche of emails showing that the Justice Department, the Biden Justice Department, did not have probable cause, did not meet the standard for a search warrant when they raided President Trump's home at Mar-a-Lago. That is significant. Why? It's in the statutory limit. It is prosecutable in the state of Florida, so you're not dealing with Virginia or Washington or New York jurors.
We can prosecute this in Florida. That is a big deal.
And it could lead to both criminal charges against the prosecutors if they misled the court, or civil litigations where the president sues his own Justice Department saying, you violated my Fourth Amendment right against illegal search and seizure. And so those are really, this is a significant, this may be the most important document today.
This a blockbuster. You're telling me there actually exist communications between people that show that they didn't have probable cause, which, remember, back in August that year, there was I think it was 21, there was this whole firestorm about this. And they went on TV every night and said that.
Every night.
You're saying they not only they had a discussion behind, they actually went out and lied about it in media every single day on MSNBC and in the New York Times.
Well, here's the real question. We're going to have to find out what they represented to the judge to get that search warrant signed, because the FBI, the Washington field office of the FBI, which, by the way, was no fan of Donald Trump's. They were behind January 6th. They were behind Russia collusion. They were telling the Biden Justice Department there was not a probable cause to raid Mar-a-Lago. That is a significant. These are emails and memos from inside the Washington field office of the FBI, an anti-Trump field office.
So we have Biden-era officials, prosecutors, members of the DOJ, FBI, trading emails, direct, recorded, on paper correspondence saying, hey, listen, we want to raid Mar-a-Lago. We want to do this, but we don't have proof or evidence of any wrongdoing here. We don't really have a reason, but we want to do it anyway. What should we do? I don't know. Let's just do it. They might have lied to the judge. They might have cooked something up and then lied to a judge to get the search warrant in the first place because a judge had to sign off on the warrant. This is a big deal. And it's an even bigger deal for those of you that want justice and accountability here. Like he said, we can prosecute this. This is all going to get litigated in what state? Florida. What's the great thing about Florida? Florida is, as people my age say, do you guys know what based means? I have an older audience. I'm a little bit younger. Sometimes there's words I want to use, but I'm like, maybe you guys don't know because you're older. I don't know. There's an age gap. Do you guys know what based means? Florida is a based state, which is good. Based is good. Based is good. It means maybe a little bit more conservative, maybe a little bit more old school, regressive, old fashioned, a little bit more right, maybe let's say right wing, a little bit more right wing. So Florida is a little bit more based. As some of the younger people say, Florida's a little bit based. President Trump is more based. To maybe introduce a new word here to the community, a little bit more based, which is good for us because we actually have a chance at seeing some real accountability and justice here unfold. So great. Red state, exactly. Now, this kind of, though, raises the question, and by the way, we already know the answer, but I'm going to run through this anyway. Why was the Biden administration in 2022 so desperate to raid Mar-a-Lago and try to take back all of Trump's declassified documents that he took with him to Mar-a-Lago? Why was the Joe Biden administration so desperate to carry out this raid that now we know they potentially even lied to a judge? They cooked up, a bunch of paperwork to try to get a warrant from a judge. They lied about it. Why were they so desperate to carry out this raid in the first place? Well, as we now know, the reason why is because they were scared that when Trump left the White House, he took physical paper, hard evidence, the official documentation proving what? That Obama and his intelligence community in 2016 and 2017 fabricated the Russia collusion hoax. Now, at this time, it's kind of hard to make sense of all this, but hear me out, okay? At this time, it's 2022. Trump has been kicked out of the White House. The 2020 election, it was fake, but it unfolded the way. So now Trump is not president anymore. Trump is sitting here thinking through all of this in Mar-a-Lago. He's like, listen, I know something fishy has gone on here. I know Trump knows the Russia collusion hoax was baloney. I know something is wrong. I know they cooked this up. And then I know they lied about the 2020 election. But Trump hasn't, like, he knows this in his brain. He knows that he's innocent, but he doesn't have all the dots up on the board. He hasn't connected all the dots yet. He doesn't have the concrete bulletproof case to prove it. He knows deep down, he knows it. All of us know it, but in order to actually litigate this and, hold people accountable, you have to be able to prove it. Knowing it and proving it, two different things. Well, this is one of the reasons why Donald Trump, when he left the White House in 2020, he declassified just like thousands, tens of thousands of documents and brought them with him. So that even though he couldn't prove it then, he would have all the documents to try to piece it together, sift through everything, and then prove it later. So he brought just a huge amount of paperwork with him so that maybe he could prove it in the future. And the second the Joe Biden administration realized, oh my God, he took all the documents. Oh my God, he can't prove it yet, but if he's got the documents, it's only a matter of time. What do we do? What do we do? Oh my gosh. Well, we got to cook up a fake narrative to put in front of a judge to get a search warrant under false pretenses. We got to raid Mar-a-Lago. We got to take back the paperwork. Got to take back the documents. And thus, the Mar-a-Lago raid on August 8th of 2022 is brought into reality. That's what all of this goes back. And now we know this because Trump is back in the White House. We got to give some props here to Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard has had her nose to the grinding stone for 11 months now. This woman has been burning the midnight oil. Tulsi Gabbard might be working harder than anybody else in the Trump administration, to be honest. This woman has been piecing this stuff together, sifting through the paperwork, and now we know Crossfire Hurricane, the Steele dossier, all of this stuff, Russia collusion hoax. We know all of this stuff was fraudulent, fabricated. We all know. In fact, the warrant itself, the raid on Mar-a-Lago, that was fabricated as well. Every single step of the way is, part of my language, ladies and gentlemen, bullshit. And now it's coming out, and it takes time. It takes time to build a case. It does. And I know we all want justice. It takes time to build up a case. And then also, I'm going to say something here that maybe you disagree with, maybe you agree with, but hear me out. And I don't have any inside information. I don't talk to anybody. The only people I talk to are you and my wife and my kids. So I'm just kind of thinking through this, though. If President Trump is going to bring forth serious, legitimate criminal charges against Brennan and Clapper and Comey and Obama, I don't know who, when is the proper time to do that? Is the proper time to drop these bombshell indictments, arrest these people? When is the proper time to do that? Is the proper time in 2025, like now or 2 months ago or something? Or, hear me out, is the proper time in 2026, 3, 4, 5 months ahead of midterms, right? This is something they can talk about on the they can campaign on this. It's going to flood the media cycle. Everybody is going to be talking about this during the midterm campaign trail. If you drop this stuff, you drop these indictments or criminal arrests, whatever, in 2025, let's say they dropped all this stuff 2 months ago, by the time midterms roll around, nobody's going to be talking about it anymore, right? People have a very short memory insofar as the political ecosystem goes. You guys know this is true. Stuff we were talking about a week ago, nobody cares about today. That's just perhaps the unfortunate reality of political news, but people are living on the 24-hour cycle. So it might be the case, and I don't know. I'm just a guy here talking to you guys. It might be the case that all these bombshell indictments, criminal arrests, criminal charges, bringing forth whatever, put people inside of a prison cell, etc. This is stuff that might be saved. The Trump administration is maybe sitting on some of this stuff to drop it during midterm election season. We got to see. We got to wait and see. At least at a minimum, I pray that is the case. Okay, that's what I'm hoping. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there was one other thing that I would like to show you. President Trump issued a very curious announcement about 2 hours ago. He said, and I quote, "My fellow Americans, I will be giving an address to the nation tomorrow night. That's tomorrow. Live from the White House at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I look forward to seeing you then. It has been a great year for our country, and the best is yet to come, President DJT. Now, you guys know, a lot of us here, me, you, a lot of you guys, we are clued in to the political scene. I think all of us here, we see everything Trump does, all the Truth Social posts. We're on the ball in this community. I haven't seen anything like this. He's announcing an address to the nation publicly over a day in advance, like 30 hours in advance. And then he also says, I look forward to seeing you then, in quotes. Why does he do that? I don't know. That's, just kind of, I don't know. I don't have an answer for you, but it's like, Mr. Trump. What does that mean, President Trump? I don't know. So, okay, little announcement here on my own. Tomorrow, I am going to, normally on the weekdays, I'm here at 4 Western, 7 Eastern. I'm going to change my schedule tomorrow to be here with you guys tomorrow night, probably at around 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, a half hour in advance. And we're going to cover this entire, whatever it is, live address. We're going to see President Trump. So I'm going to be here. So pretty much I'm going to be here with you guys tomorrow. We're going to watch that together. And we're going to break it down. But now at this point, folks, like I said, action-packed, really a lot of news today. I want to go ahead and pull up some super chats. I want to see what you beautiful and handsome members of the audience had to say today. So let me get the super chats up here on the big screen and let's start breaking it down. Ladies and gentlemen, a real quick reminder, if you're new to the show, please make sure to like and to subscribe and follow. Do it all. It helps a lot. It really does help a lot. I can't even express to you on YouTube, especially, if you like the broadcast, if you subscribe, if you whatever, really liking and subscribing, that's like boom. That's like throwing kindling on the fire insofar as the YouTube algorithm goes. But it really helps a lot. But now we've got the super chats up here on the screen. Let's break it all down. Thank you very much for your patience here, folks. Big day, a lot going on. Mr. Zero, welcome to the show. He says, the world needs a strong U.S. Look at the United Kingdom and you know where you're heading if you let the Democrats mess up your country. Defend the free West and long live Trump. Deport people now. Yeah, listen, on YouTube, I got to be careful. Deport people now. Yes, I agree. Yes, I couldn't agree more. Now, I'll tell you something here. Something that I didn't know Trump was going to do this, but I'm very happy he is. It's like I got something I didn't even vote for, but I'm happy I got it anyway. Trump is putting pressure on Europe, on the United Kingdom, on the European Union. Trump is coming, also Vance. Vance is doing this a lot. He's coming out and saying, listen, Europe, listen, UK, you guys need to make sure that you remain European. You guys are losing your country. You're losing your civilization. You're losing your society. Your culture is being erased by third world immigrants. They're imposing Sharia law. Free speech is being flushed down your European bidet style toilet. You gotta stop. So not only Trump and Vance were making America great again, but slowly we're trying to make Europe, the European Union, the British we're trying to make everybody in Europe great again as well. And good, we need that. I think in a lot of ways, Europe and the US, we are, like it or not, we are kind of tied at the hip. We're kind of on this ship together, this ship that is Western civilization. We're kind of on the ship together. What happens over here, it impacts over there. What happens over there, it impacts over here. To a certain degree, it is beneficial for the U.S. to make sure that Europe survives. That's my opinion, and does not become. Well, let me give you an example. Okay, listen, how many nuclear superpowers are there in Europe? Like Germany has nuclear weapons, France, the United Kingdom. A lot of these countries are European superpowers. Imagine the United Kingdom becomes, 75% Somalian or Afghani or something. Well, then you've got a country that is 75% Afghani or Somali that, guess what? Now they are a nuclear superpower. Now Afghanistan is effectively a nuclear superpower by nature of invading a country that already has nuclear weapons. So I think that's probably not in our interest either. Let's keep on going through here. Thank you very much, by the way. Rocks and Cows, massive $50 super chat. Thank you very much. He says, my adult sons and I love Matt Morris as much as straight guys can love other straight dudes. Deport Ilhan Omar immediately. Let's effing go. We gotta get rid of her. Back in the day, everybody used to say no homo. Hey, listen, bro, I love you too. No homo. That's what everybody used to say back in the day. Maybe it's a little taboo, but anyway, it's true. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Shout out Rocks and Cows and his sons and everybody else in the audience here. No homo, nothing but love. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's a big one. Amy Elizabeth, thank you very much. Welcome. Says, after President Trump leaves office, they should change the age for holding office, cut off at 65. Can't serve till you are 35, just the president. Listen, we got to do something. At a minimum, a good place to start here is term limits. A good place to start here is term limits. I will tell you something, real quick. I'm going to pick a number, 70. Not every 70-year-old is the same. We all have known 70-year-olds sharp as a tack. Good Lord, sharper than me. And I'm 31. And then you have 70-year-olds. Yeah, it's been a tough time. You got some issues. Your brain is mush. It's leaking out of your ears. We all know. So maybe in a lot of ways, age is not the concrete determining factor. I had a great grandma passed away about a decade ago. She was 98. That woman, she was just as quick as a whip. You wouldn't even believe it. It's like she had the brain of an 18-year-old. Maybe a little bit older. The brain of an 18-year-old is maybe not so good. She had the brain of a 30-year-old. Maybe I should say that. But anyway, people age differently. I think Trump is older than Biden. Is that right? Or about the same age? And Trump is, you can't even compare the two. Biden, Trump though, he's doing just fine. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Amy. At a minimum, we need term limits. Let's start there. Mr. Zero says, what do you think about Swiss, German, Thai, and Korean immigrants compared to the Arabs that the Democrats want to import? Listen, this is my opinion. Maybe I'm going to get in trouble here. Not all immigrants are equal, okay? Certain immigrants have certain affinities or proclivities that other immigrants don't have. Needless to say, I think we can all agree, German immigrants, for instance, assimilate and become Americans much more easily. Not that all of them can, but it's the rate at which these things are happening. It's a proportionality issue. What proportion of German immigrants can become good, normal, assimilated Americans versus what proportion of Somali immigrants can become good, assimilated Americans? I think the proportion is totally, you're in a different ballpark at that point, right? And so that's kind of my opinion. Really, generally speaking, I don't have a big issue with European immigrants, assuming they are vetted. Here's another pertinent example. I'm really not a fan of Somali refugees coming in the country at this point, but these South African white Boer farmers, they're facing an anti-white genocide down in South Africa. We want to bring those guys in. Okay, you know what? They seem to be industrious, hardworking, culturally compatible, great, like all around great people. I don't have a problem with South African farmers coming in the country. Seems fine. I think, like I said, yeah, not all immigrants are built the same. Not all people maybe are built the same. Thank you very much. Dare I say, listen, I might get crucified for saying that, but thank you, Mr. Zero. He says, love to the USA, aka the greatest country in the world aside of Switzerland, from a Swiss guy that is fighting back against progressives and Islamists. I'll tell you something funny, Mr. Zero. My wife is German, and my wife, pardon her, for she's not an American. She doesn't know. I said, sweetie, if you could be born in any country in the world, what do you think is the best country to be born in? My German wife, she says, probably Switzerland. I said, okay, but then do you think number 2 America? She said, yeah, okay, number 2 America. But all the Europeans, they hold Switzerland in very high regard. It's a good country. Switzerland is a good country. You can't deny that. Better than America? Me, of course, I say no. But it is undeniably, it's a good country. Thank you, Mr. Zero. Moonraker. He says, this is our war on drugs. I voted for. Yeah, listen, if you want to talk about war on drugs, you can wage a war in different ways. The way that the Bush admin or the Biden admin, the Obama admin waged their war on drugs is very different than the way in which the Trump admin is waging war on drugs. During the Bush era and the Obama era, their war was like, hey, listen, drug traffickers, please stop. Hey, please stop smuggling drugs in the country, please, pretty please. Donald Trump is like, and we're dropping a bomb, and you are getting blown up, and we're going to blow, and we're dropping another bomb. And if you're still floating in the water, we're going to drop another bomb. We're going to drop bombs until the drugs stop coming in the country. We're going to send a message, and then we're going to take the video footage. We're going to edit in some cool techno music. Dun, 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 dun. And then we're going to post the video on Facebook and on Twitter so everybody can see how cool it is. That's my type of war on drugs. Techno music, aerial drone footage, blowing up drug traffickers. Dude, let's go. Yeah, that is what I voted for. That's my type of war on drugs. And it seems to be effective. It seems to be effective here. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Moonraker. Random Vids, he says the Colombian president is crazy AF. Threatening to kill Trump and recently inviting him to Colombia. I know, I saw that. Yeah, Petro. Not a nice guy. Doesn't seem like a nice guy. It's true. It's true. Rocks and Cows says, my governor is cognitively impaired. Tim Waltz? Yeah. Seems to be the case. Yeah, that seems to be the case. Thank you. Thank you again. William T says, that's friggin' rich. Upchuck Shuhaisa. Shushaisa. Stating we're a country of law, apparently, as it applies to everyone else. You guys know my German mother-in-law. She got into town late last night. That's why I didn't do a broadcast last night. I was taking care of the kids. My wife went and picked up my mother-in-law. She flew all the way from Deutschland. So my house has been overtaken. I feel like Poland right now. I feel like Poland in 1939. The Germans have invaded my house. They're yelling at each other. They're yelling German. They're speaking German. They're cooking their stinky ethnic food. It's been overrun by the Germans. They blitzkrieged the house. My mother-in-law is here. Everybody's speaking German. I don't know what the hell is going on. I'm kidding. I'm very happy. We're happy. I'm kidding. Of course, I can't help but make the joke. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Matt says, still no arrest. Democrats are above the law. I'm done with the talk. We are praying for 2026. 2026, before midterms, on the midterm trail. Let's go. That's what we want to see. That is the time to do these arrests. Thank you, Matt. Nice name. Excellent name. Rocks and Cow says, deep dive AG, Attorney General Keith Ellison, and a modern jihadist Islamist world PDF file. Worshippers can't rat each other out. He covered while taking. I'll look into that. Is that the Attorney General of Minnesota? I'll look into it. Thank you. Man, a lot of super chats. You guys are going crazy today. Concrete Lizard, he says, this is political prawn. Democrats are getting screwed. That's one way to put it. That's one way to put it. Thank you very much. Kristen Werner says there's a connection with the Hortman shooter. Would not be surprised. I would not be surprised. Melissa was her name. Melissa Hortman, right? Yeah, that there's a very interesting story there. Maybe we're not going to get bogged down on that. We've been going too long today, but very interesting story that we'll talk about another day. Thank you, Kristen. William says Bongino doesn't want to work with arrest. No one, Pam. I do think some people get mad when I say this, but I need to be honest. I need to give all of you the respect of my honesty. I need to be honest with you, even if it gets me in trouble sometimes. I do feel like Pam Bondi is a little bit of a problem. I am critical of Pam Bondi. I feel like Pam Bondi is sitting on her hands. She does a lot of yapping. Pam Bondi does a lot of yapping, but not a lot of doing. Compare that to DNI Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard, this woman is a hustler. And frankly, listen, I wasn't even really a big fan of Tulsi. I just kind of didn't care about Tulsi Gabbard. I was like, whatever, Tulsi Gabbard, whatever. But seeing everything that Tulsi Gabbard has accomplished in the last 11 months, I am becoming a fan of Tulsi Gabbard. And by the way, I'm not like saying that I want Tulsi to be president. Maybe she shouldn't be president. You got to have a certain X factor. It's hard to even describe it. Maybe Tulsi doesn't have it, but just like, let me say this. I think Tulsi Gabbard is perfect in the job that she has right now. Not that I'm endorsing her for president someday, but the job she has right now, Director of National Intelligence, she is doing a very good job. I am very pleased with Tulsi Gabbard. Keep it up, Tulsi. Keep going. Thank you, William. Mark of Reality says, this is going into Florida courts. I'm wondering who the 15th Circuit State Attorney is and how he feels about Trump. That's his opinion counts. I'm a Florida criminal attorney. You know more about it than I do. No doubt about that. How about we look into this? Okay. This is a very good question. You have raised with your expertise a very pertinent question. Who's going to be running the show here? Okay, down in Florida, it's a mistake to say, oh, it's in Florida. It's a case closed, slam dunk case. You're right. It is more complex than that. So thank you for pointing that out. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm happier to it's good. Listen, we need to have at least a couple experts tune in the show around here. We need to have at least some people that know what they're talking about. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Craig Custer, he says, I understand waiting for midterms, but it's frustrating for so long the Democrats just make up a story and within 2 days they have indictments and people go to prison. We have all the evidence, nothing happens. Okay, a little bit of a counterpoint here though. How many indictments have the Democrats pushed out that ended up getting tossed out? They were insufficient. There wasn't proof. And the Democrats actually, maybe they rushed to get these indictments out of the door, and then they didn't actually take the time to build out a concrete case, and then nothing came of it. So you can start tossing out indictments. You're indicted. I'm going to indict your grandma. Your dog is getting indicted, whatever, right? But if you want to actually see criminal accountability, justice gets served, you want to lock people up, you want prison time, whatever, you need to make sure your case is bulletproof. Tossing an indictment out is different than actually, okay, we gotcha. It's bulletproof. The case is locked solid, right? So one is not the other. I say keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. And by the way, in order to build out these cases and make sure they're airtight, I believe it takes time. I think it's fair to say it takes time. It takes time. And then also the next question is, when is the proper time to drop all this? And probably midterm season. So thank you, Craig Custer. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Good reminder, though. Good reminder. Raya, one of my favorite viewers, says, thanks for the best, Matt. Merry Christmas from us to you and your family. Love your channel and all the great patriots here. Raya, shout out to you and your husband. Thank you for tuning in. Look at all the Christmas trees here. In this community, we love Christmas. Thank you very much. No Grinches allowed. If you are a Grinch, you need to get the hell out of here. No Grinches allowed in this community. Unless you're the Grinch after you became nice, okay? How does the story go? Unless you're a Grinch after your heart has grown 10 sizes, then we will accept you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Raya. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate the super chat. And I feel bad. I think there was one more super chat that I just missed here. I'm going to reload the page. I want to make sure I don't miss that. It was from Drops Homestead. He says, final one of the day. Matt, watch out for the mother-in-law. She will chop your fingers off if you sneak food before the meal. I had a German grandmother. This is how these Germans are. There's a German children's book. It's called Struwwelpeter. Does anybody know? And it's a book you're supposed to read to your kids before bedtime. And these Germans, they're teaching their kids. It's crazy. They have stories like, once there was a little girl who was sucking her thumb, and then a man crawled in the window and chopped off her thumbs. The end. Go to bed now. And it's like, wait a minute. That's crazy. She had her thumbs cut off because she was, and that's how they do it in Germany. Once there was a little girl who forgot to close the door to the refrigerator, and so someone broke in the house and chopped off her arms. Okay, good night. Go to bed. I love you. That's how the Germans do it. They are a little bit crazy these days, these Germans over there. So anyway, listen, that is going to be the end of the show. This has been a long one. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today on Rumble. Follow, like, subscribe. YouTube, follow, like, subscribe. Thank you very much, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow, full steam ahead. I'm gonna try to keep up a normal workload, even though we've got family in the house. So I'm going to do my best. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. I'll see you folks tomorrow. Take care. God bless. Have a great Tuesday night. And until next time, everybody, stay safe. Thank you very much.